I really had high hopes for this book. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am here with a new book review. And before we get started, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer. If you do hear some congestion, it's because I am sick and I've been sick for way too long at this point. But nevertheless, it is a very special book review because today is actually my birthday that I'm filming this. So yeah. Anyway, like my intro says, I really had such high hopes for this book, Isaac's Song. So a little bit of backstory. Daniel Black wrote the book Don't Cry for Me, and I reviewed it. So I will either like include it as a card somewhere in this video, or I will just like link it down below in the description. But essentially, the original book was told from the point of view of Jacob, which was Isaac's dad. And just like a quick recap, in that story, it was going through Jacob's life and his upbringing and the things that shaped him into the father that he was. And then essentially like him realizing that as Isaac was growing up, he was becoming the son that he didn't want and didn't expect him to turn out to be. And just kind of like going through the depression and the dealing with the fact of like, now I have an estranged son and I'm getting old and like I won't know what he's like and all that good stuff. Excuse me. Yeah, so like I was saying, I really loved Don't Cry for Me because I felt like it was a story that wasn't really told as much of like a father realizing that like his upbringing was not ideal, and then he ended up like, projecting a lot of the stuff onto his gay son, and then just like going through life, growing old, and then realizing that like maybe if I had talked to my son about some of the things that I was feeling or I had experienced, maybe I might not still have agreed with his lifestyle, but we could have had some semblance of like a normal relationship. And I just thought that was so great. I remember being like, if more parents would just talk to their kids about things, about their fears, what they're feeling, all that good stuff, like we would have so much more great relationships, regardless of like differences within the relationship, if that makes sense. So naturally, when the second book came out, Isaac's Song, I was like, I definitely have to see, because now this one's being told from the point of view of the son. And so I got this from my friend at work, Francis. It was the January book of the month. So let me know if y'all have book of the month, because I'm still trying to figure out like if it's worth it. This is like me going off on a tangent. I'm trying to figure out if it's worth it because yes, you get the books per month for a lower price, but then I don't always buy a book every month, like outside of like a subscription. So I don't know. Anyway, y'all will let me know in the comments. But yeah, so I got this book from Francis and I'm just going to jump right in. I do have to give another disclaimer that I'm reviewing this book from my own point of view with my own beliefs and my own feelings about it. It might not be the same for you, or it might. So just as always, just give grace, be kind in the comments, if it even gets to that. My comments are typically like pretty nice and chill. But yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. So there were a couple, I'm gonna start off with the quotes that I really loved from this book. The first one is on page 11. So very early on, and it says, I'm looking over here at my notes, but maybe I should just move it forward and look on my phone. The first quote that I loved on page 11 said, "How smart is it to get mad at a mountain? Either climb it or go around it. Don't spend a lifetime waiting for it to move. Only a fool does that. Wind it back and listen to that because it's so good. Then the other one was on page 98. I only have two actually. The other one was on which tells you a lot. Page 98, it says, I suppose this is the way of trauma. We file hurt and pain away in dark spots of the soul, never knowing it finds its own way out, disguised as something else altogether. We protect it with silence, but we don't heal it that way. We simply hand it to the next generation. Those two were just like such good like quotes that were like applicable to life and just things to just keep in mind. And so I just love when I can read a book and pull out some like good quotes. Anyway, what you're really here for, the likes, the dislikes, what I think. So I'm going to start with my likes and then we'll go to dislikes. Number one, so in the book, Isaac is going to therapy sessions. So the book there's like different sections where it'll start with like where it says like day 13 or day whatever. It goes all the way up to like 50 or 60, I believe. And that's just him writing his story. And then there's other ones that don't have like a day with it. And those are like his therapy sessions of like things that's like actually happening. So like there's no day. His therapy sessions were really good. I feel like if you liked the quotes that I read earlier, you'd like the therapy sessions because then it feels like it's like your therapy session, which I think is like a good, that's good. There were short chapters, love short chapters. Nobody has time to read a 50-page chapter, like be for real. Some of them were really short, like I want to say like a page or two, and then for the most part they were like 5 pages, so you get through them pretty fast, and there's like good stopping points. And then I like how let me backtrack a little bit. In this book, Isaac is like kind of talking through the pain and the hurt that he felt from his dad, right? And the same thing that Jacob is doing in his own book. And I like so at first it's all like, my dad was a horrible father. He never accepted me. He never wanted me. It was like so rough growing up with him and like I couldn't be my true self. And then like as he's like talking through and like processing and like, excuse me, his therapist encourages him to like write down things in his life. He kind of comes to see that, oh, actually, my father wasn't that bad. And actually, my life was actually like really blessed. And like my father worked so hard and sacrificed everything for me. And I like that. It kind of reminded me of like how I do a lot of journaling. So I could see the benefits of him like writing everything down in the same way of like I could see like how journaling like helps you reflect, clear mental space, all that good stuff. I liked to see the progression of like his thoughts and his feelings towards his father. And then the last thing I liked was in the book there's like a lot of like tension and duality of like life. So for example, like he would, if I could give like a good example, like he would be so repressed or so suppressed, I would say, in his like identity as this like boy growing up who is gay, and his father, and at home his father is like, don't do this, like don't do that, like you can't, blah blah blah. But then there would also be like on the flip side, like he would like explain these beautiful like situations where he would like play music or he would do art, or it would just be like, I like how the book kind of gave us a good balance of like the tensions that we have to hold in life. Like things can be really tough, but things can be really beautiful. And that was like a little poetic of me, but yeah, I like that a lot. All right, y'all. So like I said, we're going to get into these dislikes, and I'm going to try to really tread carefully here. But I will say that I am a Christian, so a lot of the things that I consume it's like filtered through like my belief system. So a lot of the conversations and the rhetoric around God and about just like the Bible and just overall Christianity that was mentioned in this book, coming from the main character who is a gay man, kind of like rubbed me the wrong way to the point of like I started to like not enjoy the book. So, for an example, on page 184, I'm going to read you just like one sentence. This is Isaac talking to his therapist. So it says, Isaac, listen. She lowered her voice. The Bible can't help you with this. You have to decide what God thinks of you. And once you decide, make that your truth. Yeah, I don't know. There was like many situations. That's just one. I think after a while I like stopped kind of like paying attention to them and kind of like just skimmed through to like finish the book. Skimmed over like those parts to like not bring up like offense for myself. But you know, like as a Christian, like we like to just say like the like what did she even say? The Bible has nothing to do. Hold on, I just lost it that fast. The Bible can't help you with this. You have to decide what God thinks of you. Like, yes, you have to decide what God thinks of you because the enemy will, of course, try to tell you this is what God thinks, this is what blah, blah, blah. But you have to use what the Bible says and what the word says to know. So I don't know. There was just like a lot of like conversations about God and the Bible in there that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, not really sure about that. Moving on from that, because I don't want to hop on that too much, because not everybody would have that same point of view, of course. The next thing is like there were like a bunch of characters mentioned. So like Isaac's friends throughout like his college days and like different jobs that he's had. And they were like mentioning them throughout the book, but like they were so like not memorable that I was like, wait, who is this person? Who's that person? So I don't know. The imagery, not me sounding like a pre-pubescent boy, the imagery, like the descriptive language, I think was kind of like up and down. Like some parts was like, oh, I could like clearly see this place or this person that they're talking about. And then others, I'm like, it kind of felt short. Like we could have built that out a little bit more. Again, something else that was like triggering, or not really triggering, but like rubbing me the wrong way. They were talking about like feeling the presence of ancestors and like doing like rituals, like pretty close to the end of the book. Like Isaac goes back to the Isaac goes back to the grave of his some of his relatives, and he's like performing this type of like water ritual over the graves, and I was just like, yeah, no thank you. And then the last thing, this is actually really interesting. I had so many dislikes. The last thing I did not like about this book is that, so while Isaac is telling his own story, a story comes to him that he wants to write. So it turns out like he wants to be a writer, he wants to tell stories. So he starts telling this story about two boys who were slaves. And I was like, whoa, bonus story inside the story. Okay. And he kind of like alluded to it as like the two boys was like his father and his uncle. And it was like a really good story, right? And I'm like, okay, wasn't expecting that. But then it's kind of good. Only for it to not end in the book. So yeah, it didn't end. Like, I don't know how that story within the story ended. And I just feel like infuriated by that. So anyway, I don't know. I feel like overall on Goodreads, I gave Isaac's song 3 stars. I can't do half stars on Goodreads. If I could, I would do 3.5. But the only thing I have to base this on is Don't Cry For Me, which was the first book. And Don't Cry For Me was so good. So to read this one kind of was like, you know, it didn't really hit the way that I was expecting it to hit. It is a really easy read, a good read. Like you could read it in a couple days. Like I said, the chapters are short, the words are kind of big. And, you know, for the most part, if you read the first part, you want to like hear Isaac's point of view. But overall, I'm picking Don't Cry For Me over Isaac's song. But I wanted to read it because it was a follow-up to that other book, of course, and I couldn't miss the opportunity. So anyway, after all of that, I would recommend Don't Cry For Me over Isaac's song. But if you've read the first one, I'm sure you're going to want to read this one. So let me know what you think. It's still pretty new. It came out in January. So I'm going to have to wait a little bit for people to catch up. But yeah, I think that's it. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And with that, another book review in the bag. Thank you guys for watching. I know this one was a little bit, there was some touchy things, and it wasn't my favorite book to review, but I did want to review it. So let me know what you think. Give this video a like, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already and you want to see some more book content or some more vlog content. So yeah, share it with a friend, someone that you know that likes to read or is trying to get back into reading. And I will see you guys in the next video, hopefully with a better sounding voice. Bye.